Now, I'm going to go with it regardless, so you can have a nap. I'm going to sit over here, and you can look at me, but the camera's there. Or you can look at me or the camera, but here's the question. Or there's a story that you told Chris, that's the big dog's name, right, over all these homes? Chris. As he was leaving with his wife, I told him what I was doing over here setting up. And I also, I told him I was doing stories, and I might do some with his permission, their own permission, other folks in here, but right now I'm doing you. He said, be sure and ask him. I said, I want stories, anecdotes. Be sure and ask him about the time he bought chickens or is given chickens or something about chickens until Pat put her foot down. So speak up, and I'm going to hush, just tell the story.
Well, this was back when I was in Texas Tech. I hadn't been married very long. And so summer came, I'd been at the Spur circuit. That's about 90 miles out of Lubbock on Dickens.
Much as you can.
So there it was, Spur circuit. We moved into this little house that was the parsonage for the summer. And I came home one day and Pat said, Tom, we've got some chickens in the backyard. I said, what's going on? Well, they pounded you. That was what they pounded. That was an old term. They brought food supplies. They just loaded up your pantry.
Oh, yeah, when a pastor moves. My parents, when my dad got in, I got pounded.
Got pounded.
Somebody brought you live chickens?
And I said, really? Yeah, they're in the backyard. And I said, well, fine, we'll have them for dinner.
And if you can lean forward like you're doing, it'll help the audio.
She said, Tom, they're alive. I said, what? She said, yeah, and she said, we checked the fence. There's no holes in the fence in the backyard. But they're in the backyard. I said, fine, we'll have them for dinner.
Keep talking right toward here. It'll help the mic.
And Pat said, Tom,
you can look at me or there.
Tom said, I don't do chickens.
Ha!
I said, Pat, now my mother taught me how to do it, and you're supposed to know how. You're the wife of this family, and you're going to do chickens. And she said, Tom, I don't do chickens. I said, Pat, it's real simple. Go get a metal hanger out of the closet. We had a lot of metal hangers back in those days, not plastic. And so I said, now you take it, you straighten out that hanger where it's one long hanger with a little hook on the end. And I said, Pat, you go out where those chickens are, and they come by with that little hook, you grab one. And I said, then you grab it by the neck, the head. I said, you hit it twice, only twice. That'll do it, then you let it plop. I said, but have some hot water ready to stick it in some boiling water. So then you can get the feathers off. Pat said, Tom, I don't do chickens. Well, as a result, late that day, I had to go buy some chicken feed.
They didn't pound you with the chicken feed to go with the chickens?
No, and I wasn't going to do the chicken. That wasn't my job. That was Pat's job.
Oh, that's sexist.
Well, I learned a little since then.
What year was that?
Well, that'd been back in, that was back in the 55 or 6.
Yeah, like when I was born. Yeah, Mother and RR had chickens, I'm sure. They lived in Odom before they went to Pecos.
But I went and bought some chicken feed for them. Well, this was the beginning of the summer, and this is my first year in the ministry. Spur Circuit, down in Dickens, Texas. Well, the end of the summer, it's time to go back to school, Texas Tech. So I said, Pat, we need to do something about those chickens. She said, Tom, I told you before, and I'm not going to tell you again, I don't do chickens.
Let's keep going.
And you know, she hadn't done a chicken to this day. All of the turkeys we bought from HEB and so forth, and I would take and cook the turkey. She didn't do turkeys. Now she could fry chicken, she could cook chicken.
Well, what do you mean by do? When you get one at
I mean,
HEB,
kill it.
it's already dead when you get it at
Well,
HEB.
but the kind we were dealing with was on 2 feet in the backyard, and she wasn't going to kill them.
I know.
She didn't kill chickens, and she didn't pluck the feathers.
Well,
That was my job.
where did Pat grow up? In the city?
City girl, yeah, city girl.
Well, my kids and anybody watching this, because this is going to be a pretty interesting DVD in and of itself, they don't realize that everything they get at HEB was butchered or killed. I mean, I have sat in the 70s, right before I worked for Methodist Home, worked for the Farmers Union. The folks down at Matagorda, the rice farmers, when it was cold December or January, hog killing weather.
Yeah.
They'd make a whole day event. The men would start drinking beer at 9 in the morning, sitting out while they cut the hog's throat, hanging upside down, and let it bleed. And then they had hot water on a fire, and they'd scrape it. And the women, by the end of the day, there was a big party with all the neighbors that come to the hog killing.
Yeah, you had to eat the chitlins. Made chitlins out of the intestines.
They did that. They had a big fish fry thing going on propane. I'm talking about in the 70s. Now, my kids would freak at that idea. But everything, I believe, the last I checked, at HEB down here, at DB Wood and Williams, is dead.
Oh, yeah.
But nobody saw it die. Nobody had to participate in its death. Now, where would these folks, they all need to think when they watch this. What if it were still, 1956 or 7, and what if everybody said, I'm not going to kill the chickens? Now, my Mama Ruth, mother, she said I'm going to step over here and see if I can get in this with you. Well, that's as wide as it'll go. But I can turn it a little, just for the hand movement. I want to be sure I got this right. And you can turn to me. You're doing fine. Now, you said, my hand needs to be in, that you said to take the chicken and take its head, hold its body, and hit it against
the
the
body,
brick.
picked it up just by the head and the neck.
Oh, and then hit it. Well,
And you pop it twice.
oh, okay, so you're
Twice.
breaking. Well, that's what my mother said.
Yeah.
They would just do it with their hand and ring
Oh,
it
yeah, twice.
to be sure.
You did it twice, and that ought to do it.
Like when they used to hang outlaws.
Yeah, and then
When they dropped, their neck would pop, their
Then
spinal
let them
cord.
flop.
Flop, 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 flop.
Blood all over everything.
My son, even when he was young, we still do it. We shoot turkeys. We call them up and you shoot them in the head as they're right up by your decoy. It's a short-range shot with a high powder turkey shot. And they go flop, 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 flop. It's either that or they fly away.
But Pat never did do chickens for me.
So,
Did a lot. My wife did a lot. That's what 48 and a half years of marriage.
well, we're going to do your whole family history. And at some point you'll meet and marry Pat.
But I learned a lot about
Women and not saying it was her job.
that's right.
I learned a lot because where I grew up in Pecos, people would say my wife doesn't have to work, which means the guy was a big rich farmer. His wife didn't have to work. Well, Sally did not. I didn't ever say you don't have to work, but I heard the PC, the politically correct way to say it. My wife does not work outside the home.
That's right.
In fact, Sally did work harder raising 4 kids. And yeah, she did. That's hard work.
Well,
she mowed the lawn, she made the meals, she cleaned up. My dad, and probably you too, and me too, when I say get up, you just eat, you get up and walk away. Sally said at least move the dishes to the sink, rinse them, and put them in the dishwasher right next to the sink.
Yeah.
Well, hell's bells. They had cooked it. That's the least you can do.
Yeah. I learned that pretty quick. Yeah.
Well, and my dad was in the Navy, and he taught me how to miter corners and do a bed. Not that I miter my corners much anymore. He knows how to work. You knew how to work, but there's a woman's job and there's a man's job.
Yeah,
By the way, your job back then was just thinking, studying, and preaching.
yeah.
And going and seeing the sick and burying the dead. So you couldn't wring that chicken's neck?
Well, that wasn't my job.
So you just You were on strike because it wasn't your job.
Yeah, I was determined that my mother did it, and Pat was going to do it. That was her job.
Well, how many chickens did you get pounded with?
Well, live ones only 2.
Oh, 2.
And they wound up hens at the end of the summer. And I decided I'm not going to kill them. I'm going to take them down to the poultry house. Took them to the poultry house, and they took care of them. They did. I don't know how they harvested those 2 hens, but we wound up taking those hens home with us. Only they had been harvested. They were in the freezer, and so later we had those hens. Never did really enjoy those 2 hens after my.
Well, they weren't pets. You didn't give them names.
Oh yeah, they were pets also.
Oh, you gave them. Did they have names?
But
did they have names? Names, like Gertrude and
I don't remember the name, but oh yeah, they were
and
pets.
Shirley.
We'd go out in the backyard and they'd come up to us.
All right, I guess that's enough out of this little segment. We'll just have a little segment here, and I can do sound check. And you can go take a nap. Well, I don't tell you what to do.
I'll go rest.
Yeah, real quick. This is December 25th, 2013. We're at the Wesleyan at Estrella, which if it's like Amarillo would be Amarillo. This is the Estrella. Somebody.
Assisted living.
Yes, but I'm talking about the pronunciation of stars in Spanish. It'd be Estrella.
Yeah, the L's would be silent.
It wouldn't be like Amarillo, like Amarillo, which means yellow? Estrella. Not Australia, but Estrella. But look, let's say it Texan. This is the Wesleyan at Estrella.
Assisted living.
Assisted living. There's a independent living up
in
the
Georgetown, Texas.
And Georgetown, Texas.
Right.
And Tom Strother only has one friend that his here visit. He only has one friend in the whole world. That's what he told him at lunch. Nobody believed that.
Well,
and this is Ron Butler speaking. And I only have one friend, so I came to see you. All right.
You're hard up.
Yeah, kind of am lately. We're over and out. Anybody that watches this, Merry Christmas and Feliz Navidad, something años felicidad or something, and a Happy New Year. You want to send a greeting? Because I'm going to burn some of these and send them to your 4
Merry
children.
Merry Christmas to one and all, and to all a Merry Christmas.
Have your 4 children heard this chicken story?
No, I don't think
so. Well, they're going to get it on DVD if you get the addresses out of your little book. All right, it's time for Brother Tom to take a nap. We're out of here in 3, 2, 1.
Howdy.